Yeah, it is. It's you know, we're all responsible, right? We could all be heroes. We could all be good neighbors, helpers. You know, so yeah, you need to take that seriously and try to do your part.
Hey viewers, welcome to my vlog. Well, overall, this one. Hey viewers, welcome to my vlog. My mother just got a strike. Spin around, get all hype and move around. So, the first question is. Hey viewers. Well, I had so much fun on this project from the start. It was so cool. Well, to get a tour of the fire station. It's more like a house. It has bedrooms, family photos, a living room, a home gym, big closet, and a workshop. I learned that firefighters have so much more to do than just respond to emergencies. They do maintenance on their vehicles and fire equipment, and even fix things around the fire station. When we got there, they were doing plumbing in the kitchen. Okay. Good afternoon, Captain Steiner. Thank you for meeting me.
Very nice to meet with you.
My first question is, can you tell me a little bit about your job as a fire captain?
Sure. On every fire engine or fire truck in the city of Corona, we have 4 firefighters. You have a fire captain, an engineer, a firefighter paramedic, and a firefighter. So the captain is basically in charge of the crew, handles all the big decisions that occur on a significant incident until he's relieved by someone of higher rank, which is usually a chief officer. And you're looking out for your crew, and you're keeping them safe, and you're just working as a team to get the job done.
Did it take a long time to become a captain?
I mean, kind of, but it just depends on how you look at it. I was a firefighter in Corona for about 3 years, and then I was an engineer for about 7 years. And then my first opportunity to take a captain's test was after being an engineer 7 years, and I was able to get promoted. So about 10 years on the job, and I became a captain, which really isn't that long.
My granny and several others would like to know, what age did you decide to become a firefighter?
Who asked that? Your readers?
Yeah.
And his granny.
Was that and your granny?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. All right, well, you know, I think I was about 15 years old, and I never thought about being a firefighter. I don't have any relatives in the fire service. I didn't know any firemen anywhere. And my mom told me one day, she says, what do you think about becoming a firefighter? And I says, oh, sounds kind of cool, I guess. So I went and I joined the Fire Explorer post, and then after that I became a paid call firefighter, and then I was hired in Corona when I was 21 years old as a firefighter apprentice, and then I got promoted to firefighter. So, you know, I knew pretty early on, about 15 years old.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it's nice when you kind of know what you want to do early on, because most people don't. Sometimes they could be well into their 20s, and they could go to school, and they could go, I don't know what I want to do. But fortunately, I knew. Yeah, so I just went, I worked really hard to achieve my goal.
Terry in Riverside wanted to know, is fighting fires changed much since earlier?
Since earlier? Well, that's a really good question, because, you know, there are less fires, I think, these days, but there are more fire deaths related to these fires. And you know, the fires itself, they burn much hotter, and they're much more dangerous than they were 40, 50 years ago, because of all the synthetics and all the chemicals that are being used to make all these products. And when they burn much, much hotter, much faster, and the smoke is much more toxic and flammable. So, you know, the basic premise still is there, that we put the wet stuff on the red stuff, right? The water on the fire. But the fires are much more dangerous than they used to be. And one of the other things you have to take into account is the construction features of buildings. The construction industry builds these buildings with very lightweight material, stuff that's cheaper to build. It's very strong material, but it doesn't work real good under fire conditions. So buildings have a tendency to collapse very early on. So what happens when we're up on a roof cutting a hole? It could collapse much quicker. So they're very dangerous compared to the old days when they build these houses and these big buildings with really thick wood structural members that could burn for hours and not collapse.
Have you worked in these stations? Janet in Riverside wants to know which is your favorite and why.
We have 7 fire stations in the city of Corona, and I've worked at all 7 stations. Station 1 is my favorite. This is where we're at today because it's the busiest, and I like being a busy firefighter, but also because there's more people at Station 1 than any other fire station. So there's 8 firefighters here at once, and I really like the camaraderie that I have with my fellow firefighters, and I enjoy the brotherhood, and I enjoy the different personalities and their sense of humor. And when we do have some tough calls sometimes, it gives you more guys, more firefighters that you can talk with about the call. So Station 1, absolutely. Best station in the city.
I've always thought of firefighters as heroes, and it's not surprising to find out that many other people agree too. Philippe was curious, and I heard my father go like this. But what kind of heroes do firefighters have? Mike asks, what is your biggest inspiration?
Okay, well, I think as far as heroes go, I think my heroes are probably very similar to your heroes. I think that anybody who sacrifices a great deal or is willing to risk their life for their fellow man is a hero. So my heroes are military people, firefighters, police officers. It could be you. You may be my hero someday. If you do something extraordinary and you sacrifice and you risk your life to help somebody, you may be my hero someday. My dad is my hero. But you could probably say a lot of the same things, huh? So it doesn't really matter whether you're a firefighter or not. We all, I think, have similar heroes. And then as far as who inspired me, I don't have anybody that I can say inspired me to become a firefighter because I didn't know any firefighters like I told you before. But I think my parents instilled a strong work ethic in me. And I worked when I was very young, and I worked a lot, and I worked hard. And so I think just having that mindset, it's self-motivation. I didn't necessarily need to be inspired by anybody to become a firefighter.
I see. I've heard that firefighters do a lot of training when they're not responding to emergencies. This question came up a lot in the suggestions. What kind of training do firefighters do?
We are responsible for training 2 hours every day, or 20 hours a month, a minimum. And that's so we can stay sharp. Because we're not always on an emergency, right? But we always have to be prepared. And some of the stuff that we're required to know is really complicated. And if you don't practice it a lot, you could easily forget it. So we do an awful lot of training, and it could be practicing throwing our ladders up against buildings. It could be pulling hose lines, advancing hose lines throughout buildings. It could be practicing confined space rescue or trench rescue. We have some really cool training coming up in just a few weeks, swift water rescue, where we get to be in the water, in these rapids, and making saves of simulated victims. So all kinds of training, and there's so much we don't even have time to talk about it all, but those are some of the big ones.
That's a lot. That seems like that's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work, and the public expects more from us than they ever have before. And so there's a lot of things that we have to be good at. And that's why it's important that we have a lot of help on the fire truck too, because you as a firefighter may be really good in a certain area, and I may say, hey, I need you to, you're really good with, you understand these cars really good, and how is this car built? What's the best spot on this car to cut open with the jaws, the jaws of life? And you can say, oh yeah, you want to cut right here because of these reasons and these reasons. So we really bounce a lot of ideas off each other so we can make the best decision in a really quick amount of time, because obviously when someone's life's at stake, we don't have a lot of time to think about things, right?
Starla in Wisconsin wants to know, what is the most fun you've ever had while training?
Most of the training some of the stuff that I mentioned a minute ago about the training, sometimes we do videotape training, we do computer training. That's not the kind of training I like. I like the kind of training like that Swiftwater training that I was talking about, or fire situations where we practice fighting real fire. Something that requires you to be very physical and work really hard, something that's very challenging, so your brain's really working hard to figure out the best solution. Those are the kind of training evolutions that I like best. Realistic ones.
So many of the suggestions had to do with living conditions. People want to know what firefighters do all day when they aren't working on fires. Who does the cooking? Do they sleep in the firehouses? Can you tell me a typical day, basically, as a firefighter?
You bet. The stereotype is that we sleep all day or play poker or play checkers, right? That's not true. Like I said, we're super busy here in Corona. We go on 11,000 plus calls every single year, and that's just emergencies. We also are super involved in our community and in the schools and in the churches and various programs in our community that we like to be a part of. But the typical day of a Corona firefighter starts out, we have to be ready to start our work at 8 in the morning, and we have our morning briefing about 8:30, 8:45, and I talk to the guys, being the captain, I talk to the guys, this is what we need to accomplish today. This is the training we're going to do today. We're often required to do building inspections, so our crew has about 300 building inspections that we have to do every year. So we'll talk about how our day is going to go. If we don't get any calls, we go try to get a workout in. We go to the gym because we got to stay in good physical condition. And then we may go do some training, and then we'll go pick up some lunch, or we bring our lunch in. And then we may do some more training after lunch, practicing some of the things we talked about earlier to make sure you don't forget. We may go out and do some fire inspections after that. Also, these fire stations, there's 8 people here 24/7, so this station takes a lot of abuse, so we always are taking care of it. Every single day we have duties, whether it's mopping the floors, whether it's cleaning the walls, dusting the furniture, cleaning out the refrigerators, all the things that you would do at home to make your house a nice place to live in. And then we also have regular maintenance that we have to do on all of our fire trucks. These fire trucks are very expensive and they need to last a long time. So we need to take really good care of them and work on them every single day. And then yes, we do sleep. Some stations you sleep more than others. Station 1 is not one of those places. Very busy at night. The lights and tones are going on and off all night long. And so no, there's not a whole lot of sleep that occurs here. What was the other part of that question?
Who does the cooking?
Well, we normally take turns. So imagine if you cooked every single shift. Don't you think we'd get tired of your cooking after a while? Because you probably only know, 5 or 6 different really good meals. Well, I don't want to eat the same thing every day, pal, okay? So you take turns cooking. Some guy brings in his secret recipe that his grandma gave him. It makes it nice. Plus, nobody really wants to cook every day. So we spread the workload.
I see. Is it hard for them and you to do it for your family so much?
With every job, there's good things and bad things about it, right? One of the things that can be tough is being away from your family for long periods of time and missing a lot of birthdays and holidays and sporting events or their dance recitals and things like that. But I also get a lot of days off, so I can make up for it and spend a lot of time with the family that way. So it really, it's just the way it goes. And yeah, sometimes it's not real great being away from some of those things that are important to you, but it's just one of the sacrifices that you make when you become a firefighter.